Isang magandang hapon po sa ating lahat at isang napakainit na hapon po sa ating lahat. Sa amin po rito sa Tagalog, dito sa Laguna, ito po ay ang pagkabanas-banas. Alam na alam po yan ni Sir Ted, yung salitang ang banas-banas. Anyways, welcome po sa 150th episode ng the Filipino SDG Action Hour. At muli nyo kaming samahan sa isa't kalahating oras ng palitan ng mga kaalaman na tiyak nakapupulutan ng aral at karunungan. So sa episode pong ito, pag-uusapan po natin ang topic na Healthy Wetlands for Resilience and Sustainability. Ang ating pong panauhin sa hapon na ito ay isang premyadong marine biologist na may mahigit 2 dekadang karanasan sa akademiya at naging katuwang ng mga dambuhalang organisasyon tulad ng United Nations at Asian Development Bank. Bilang dating Executive Director ng SIMSI, at kasalukuyang country manager ng Wetlands International Philippines, siya ang nangungunang boses sa pagbuo ng mga polisiya para sa proteksyon ng ating katubigan. Ngayon, buong puso niyang pinamumunuan ng Global Mangrove Alliance Philippines upang masiguro na ang ating mga bakawan ay hindi lamang mapapangalagaan o hindi lalong lalago at magiging masigla para sa susunod na henerasyon. So, wag na po natin patagalin. Let's all welcome ang ating pong suki sa SDG webinar, Dr. Anadel Salvio Cabanban. Ma'am Anadel?
Maraming salamat. So, i-share ko na ngayong
Yes po, ma'am.
Ikinagagalak kong maging panelist ngayong araw at sana ay mabigay ko ang gusto niyong marinig ngayong hapon. Tanungin niyo na lang ako mamaya kung hindi ko nabigay sa aking presentasyon. And yung aking presentasyon ay halo-halo may English, may Filipino. Kung siguro mas marami English ngayon, pero I'm sure na maintindihan ninyo. So ngayon ay i-share ko na at gawin kong presentation mode yung aking presentation ay
So, sa ating pong mga audience, nakikita po ba ang PowerPoint presentation ni Dr. Cabanban? Yan po. Salamat po.
pero hindi na presentation mode, no? Sandali. Ayun, okay.
Yan po, ma'am. Yan po. Ayan po.
Okay. Maraming salamat. Sorry for the delay. So, masyadong broad itong aking topic ngayon, pero talagang actually makikita niyo malilimit natin ito. I'm so glad that there is the usual video of the definition of resilience, which is very good because I don't have to repeat it. Pero i-stress ko na lang ano ang importansya ng wetlands sa resilience ng ating society. So, ang purpose ng talk na ito ay simple, just to share, inform the audience of wetlands. What are wetlands? Ano ang mga indicators ng healthy wetlands? Ano ang importansya nito sa ating resilience? Para maka-bounce back tayo kung merong hazards. Ano ang relationship ng wetlands sa mga Sustainable Development Goals? Kahit na meron na mga kaalaman tayo sa relationship ng wetlands o importansya ng wetlands to sustainability, pero marami pa rin nasisirang wetlands. Globally, about 64% daw ng wetlands ay nawala. I'm sure dito din sa atin ay makikita din na ganun marami ding wetlands na hindi na maganda ang kanilang status. So, anong magagawa natin? So, I'd like to just go through this briefly and then we can talk about it afterwards. Yung definition of wetlands according to the Ramsar Convention, this is the convention for the conservation of wetlands for birds and other living organisms. For the purpose of this convention, wetlands are marsh, katubigan, peatland or water, natural or artificial, or man-made, permanent or temporary ang tubig dun sa land. Yung water ay stagnant or static or flowing, fresh water or brackish or salty, and includes areas that are marine, that are 6 meters at low tide, hindi nalalampas doon. So, makikita niyo with this definition of wetlands, even in English, it's really broad, different types of habitats or different types of ecosystems. So, in Filipino, ganun din, marami ding words for the different kinds of wetlands. For instance, merong, kunwari, for inland wetlands, may fresh water, may river, ilog yon. Yung mangroves ay mangroves o yung seagrass ay seagrass o reef flat, ganon. So, sa mga Pilipino, maraming words din for wetlands. So, ang ginagamit na usually is latian. Kaya yun ang pangalan ng aming organisasyon sa Pilipinas. Yun ang registered name namin ng Wetlands International Philippines, Latian International Pilipinas. So, ano ang wetlands sa Pilipinas? Ang dami nga, no? Pero in the Philippines, Wetlands International just focuses on 3 types of wetlands, rivers and lakes, o kaya inland wetlands, peatlands, at saka deltas and coasts, o yung mga ecosystems, wetlands that are along the coast, kagaya ng mangroves, seagrass beds, shallow coral reefs, mudfloods. So, we'll just look at some of the indicators of healthy wetlands on these 3 types of ecosystems. Of rivers and lakes, the banks are vegetated, merong mga tanim, merong mga grass, merong mga shrubs, merong mga trees. Sa rural areas, dapat itong banks ay dapat 20 meters in each side of the river bank. Dapat walang fixed structures doon. Dapat mga tanim lang. Another indicator of a wetland is water quality niya ay mataas. It satisfies the standards. DNR has standards for recreational rivers or waters. Meron ding standards for drinking water. So, dapat itong water quality ay na-meet yung standards. Merong diverse and abundant flora and fauna na nakikita dun sa rivers and lakes. Tapos meron din nakikitang mga paggamit, wise uses dun sa wetlands. Kagaya ng agriculture or use of water for agriculture, for irrigation. Merong fishing, merong ecotourism, for instance, kung merong mga birds doon na makikita. Kung ang mga rivers and lakes ay healthy, na meron silang malinis yung tubig, meron mga diverse flora and fauna, mga isda at mga different kinds of invertebrates, madaling makabangon ang mga tao kapag merong hazards, merong extreme events, merong typhoon, merong storms, tapos yung supermarket ay sarado, yung mga roads are impassable. So, the community can go to the rivers or lakes and get some water, boil it, and be able to drink water. They can also go fish and or feel for clams and other invertebrates and have some protein for their food. So, madaling makabangon ang mga tao. Let's look at peatlands. Ganoon din sa peatlands, kailangan din merong natural vegetation sa kabuuan ng peatlands. At ang tubig doon sa peatland ay dapat ma-maintain sa buong taon. At yung peatland ay konektado talaga sa watershed. Hindi naputol ang kanilang connection kasi kailangan ng tubig yung peat. Kapag nawalan yun ng tubig, ay magiging susceptible yun sa fire, sa init, sa sunog. Ang healthy peatland ay meron ding diverse flora and fauna na makikita doon. At again, meron din ng wise uses. Pwede ding madaanan. It can be used as navigational highway. Pwede din kumuha doon ng tubig, pero kailangan i-boil yung tubig dahil hindi malinis, may acidic content at saka merong mga bacteria. And then pwede din mag-fish. Pwede makakuha ng pagkain kapag merong extreme events. Kagaya ng sinabi ko, kapag sarado yung supermarket, walang magka-supply sa village, ang communities ay pwedeng makabangon kagad. Pwede silang makakain dahil pwede silang kumakuha ng pagkain sa peatland. Sa coastal areas naman, sa mangrove forest, mudflats, seagrass, ayan makikita natin may maraming mangrove trees, different types of mangrove trees. At least sa pristine one, meron at least 15 species ng mangrove trees at saka ganun din marami ding seagrass species. And ganun, marami ding different kinds of flora and fauna, mga early stages ng fish, crabs, shrimps, at marami pang iba. Meron din mga adult stages ng mga isda na makikita sa mangrove forest. Sa mudflats naman makikita maraming mga clams na buried dun sa soft mud. Yung seagrass beds, kagaya ng mangrove forest, parang nursery site din siya ng mga early stages ng different kinds of fishes and invertebrates, including shrimps and clams. Maraming wise uses makikita sa mangrove forest, mudflats at seagrasses na makikita na merong aquaculture, pwede din allowed yung aquaculture. Dapat hindi na masyadong malawak. Dapat 60-40 dapat ang ratio. 60 mangroves, 40% aquaculture. Meron ding, of course, fishing. Meron for sustenance at of fishing for livelihood. Talagang binibenta yung mga nakukuhang mga isda, mud crabs, shrimps, at marami pang iba. Again, ang role nito sa ating resiliency in societies, when extreme events happen, the communities have access to food. Actually, meron isang case dito, recent case dun sa Siargao, dumaan yung bagyo, nawalan sila ng connection sa markets. Yung mga tao ay nakakuha ng mga pagkain galing sa mangroves. And they were they not only survive, but they are healthy with the protein that they get. So the importante yung ating wetlands sa ating resilience. Yung resilience ay hindi lang dapat yung natutuwa tayo pagkatapos ng hazards, but tayo ay nakakabangon, survive at remain healthy against all odds because meron tayong supply ng tubig at pagkain. So this, despite the importance of wetlands for resilience, for regulating water in the landscape and improving water quality and so on, there's still a lot of loss of wetlands. So there's focus of wetlands in 7 of the 17 goals, Sustainable Development Goals. Foremost is Goal 6, yung clean water and sanitation na goal sa Sustainable Development Goals, International Sustainable Development Goals. Well, the wetlands, whatever we do with the conservation of wetlands, it ensures available and sustainable management of water that we really need for life. Goals 14 and 15 are goals pertaining to life below water. Yung goal 14, yung mga life organisms in the sea and in coastal waters, and life on land. This is so mga katubigan sa land. Indirectly, wetlands contributes to several more SDGs. Obviously, goal 2, zero hunger. If our wetlands are in good condition, it provides the habitat for food organisms such as this photo here of clams. And goal 11 is for sustainable cities. When cities have good water drainage and or have ponds that contain water, then it helps in making the life in cities to be sustainable. And goal 12 is about sustainable consumption and production, actually. And goal 13 is about climate action. Marami itong mga actions sa climate. At saka ang targets actually dito sa itong 4 goals ay nasa sustainable agricultural practices, management of natural resources, and actions towards resilience to climate change related hazards. One of the actions for climate-related hazards is the replanting of rehabilitation of riverbanks and mangrove forests along the coast. And so, yes, we do have these sustainable development goals, but these goals have to be translated to real actions by the countries, the nation, the people. So what can we do to rehabilitate wetlands that are destroyed in our country? As a nation, there are so many bills that were filed in the last Congress, and some of them have to be refiled this Congress. And some have been refiled and are being discussed in the committees. So here I've listed some. There's National Wetlands Conservation Bill, National Peatlands Conservation Bill. Well, we had this discussion last month about this under the Committee on Environment. And there is an integrated coastal management bill with National Greenbelt Bill. This was discussed in the last Congress, and I think this has to be refiled this year. So we hope that the legislators will be able to focus on these bills for proper fiscal budgeting so that our wetlands can be rehabilitated. For instance, just to give an example, we have 18 major rivers in the Philippines, and these 18 major rivers need management plans. Some of them have management plans but are not funded. I know one that is available, but again, there's no fund. And so we need build a law that will ensure that the rehabilitation of wetlands, just like this example that I gave, will be able to be implemented efficiently and urgently. So as an organization, as Wetlands International, a national governmental organization, our role is to support the government, especially the governments that are signatories to the conservation of wetlands, the Ramsar Convention. The Philippines is a signatory since 1994 or 1991, if I'm not mistaken. And so we are very happy to be able to support the Philippine government in at least 3 areas of or types of wetlands. We do not intend to build big organization. We have a theory of chains, which is in this chart or in this diagram. We want to inspire people. We inspire people by having pilots, and these pilots are good practices that will rehabilitate inland and coastal wetlands or wetlands. Once we have an inspiration, we will be able to share with bigger communities and mobilize bigger audience. And when we be able to mobilize bigger audience, we will be able to replicate and upscale, replicate maybe in areas, in regions or in island groups. We can also upscale using the policy route, using the example I gave, that if we will be able to pass laws that we give fiscal allocations to local government units and other entities that can implement management plans, that will be very, very good. So we have 3 work streams of rivers and lakes, peatlands, deltas, and coast. And we have what we call a unified approach, which is science-based restoration, community engagement, multi-stakeholder partnership. We involve local governments and participators and advocate for policies and enabling conditions. And of course, we want to work with the private sector for sustainable financing. We have targets, numerical targets for the conservation of rivers and lakes, 20,000 hectares, and over the next 10 years, and restore damaged floodplains, about 5,000 hectares. We focus first, we cannot focus everywhere. We want to face our approach to the Agusan River and Cagayan de Oro River, because we have started some work there and we want to build on this. And phase 2, we want to focus also on Pampanga River and Mindanao River Basin. And phase 3, Bicol River Basin and other lake systems. The way we do it is we adapt not necessarily new ones. These are existing conservation frameworks or actions that really need just implementation on the ground. Integrated river basin management, for instance, requiring forest restoration, which we have started also in Agusan River, and nature-based solutions, which are now commonly mentioned for addressing environmental issues, particularly water-based problems like flooding, and community-based water management. Likewise, for peatlands, we have targets. We have ambitious targets of 100 hectares to be conserved and restore at least 1,000 hectares back to healthy conditions. We approach also by phases in Agusan, because in Agusan Marsh, actually in the bottom of Agusan Marsh, the biggest peat reserve in the Philippines, the Kainpugan peat, is actually found there. This is a big reserve for carbon. And phase 2, we want to start in Agusan Marsh in Mindanao. This is also under threat with the usual pollution, and also under threat for possible exploitation for gas to meet our needs. And phase 3, we want to look at peatlands that are small but are important. In Mindanao and Palawan, there is a peatland strategy that was developed 2 years ago, and I think we can build on this for the Philippines. So for peat, we really want to ensure fire prevention. Like if you are aware, there was a fire in Agusan Marsh, and fortunately, the fire was immediately stopped, and it didn't spread to the peat, because if it burned the peat, it will really be very, very bad. A sustainable peatland agriculture is what we want to focus, and we have started stakeholder consultation to be able to come up with some strategy that will be useful for the farmers around the marsh, and that will also be good for conservation. We are thinking of paludiculture as a way to go, or floating agriculture if needed. When when possible, when the policy is already in place, we look into carbon market development. But we really want to ensure that the policies in the government are in place so that we can really protect the rights of the community. For Delta's coast, for mangroves, mudflats, and seagrass beds, we want to, protect 12,000 hectares of existing mangroves, integrate 3,000 hectares of fish ponds in mangroves, or restore the aquaculture ponds to a sustainable way of growing or culturing fish or shrimp. We want to include seagrass bed in coastal wetlands. Seagrass beds are widespread, but they are also not the focus of conservation, and because they're along the coast, they are susceptible to influences of land-based pollution. We want to focus in Manila Bay. We have some initial work here, building with nature approach to ensure that the coastline will be more stable, so that coastal flooding will be less. And we also want to continue the work in Makahalar Bay in northern Mindanao. It's also to rehabilitate the mangrove forest there, use ecological mangrove restoration principles. And we want to start in Quezon, Bicol Island, and in Bicol, and also in Eastern Visayas, Romblon. So we have a long list here of the strategies. Adventure ecological mangrove restoration. This restoration doesn't really require automatically the planting of mangroves. This requires the assessment of the area, whether there is really a need for replanting, or maybe it's just a need for breaking down ponds of abandoned fish ponds to allow the tidal flow to occur, and then the natural replanting or colonization of plants and animals will occur. If necessary, that's when we can have assisted planting or assisted regeneration approach with planting of mangrove species appropriate for the zone. Associated mangrove aquaculture is an approach where it's a win-win. It's a win for the farmer, because the farmer can still be able to continue growing fish. And it's a win also for conservation and for the farmer too, because when the dike along the river is restored and replanted with mangroves, the water that will flow into the fish pond will be clearer, and also it will bring some plankton that will be additional food, natural food for the cultured animals. So the requirement for food will be lessened. Associated mangrove culture has been done in Indonesia and has been successful. And we hope to be able to replicate it here. And we have some pilots in Bataan and in Makahalar Bay in Mindanao. Of course, we have heard about these local managed marine areas with communities, and we want to have this as many as possible. Building with nature is an approach where we use natural processes and natural materials versus hard infrastructure. Blue carbon is the assessment of the ecosystem and that prioritization of this ecosystem for future carbon trading. Locally managed marine areas are, as already mentioned, as the LMMA. We want to integrate our work to ensure synergies within the landscape or a seascape. So we have these policies that bring or cross-program benefits that will be beneficial for society. So what can we do as citizens? We can abide by or comply with proper waste management so that there will be no waste that will make the water quality of inland wetlands, peatlands, and coastal wetlands to be poor. When possible, contribute to the rehabilitation of watershed, riverbanks, and when invited to replant or reforest along the coast, please follow the guidance for mangrove restoration. So with that, I hope you have some understanding on how wetlands can contribute to resiliency and sustainability of our society. Thank you very much. For more information, you can visit our website or send an email to us or call us. Thank you. I stop
Maraming salamat.
share na.
Ako
Stop
na
share
po,
ko
ma'am.
na. Okay.
Maraming salamat po, ma'am, sa pag-aambag po ngayong hapon at sa pag-share po ng inyong experience, mga nagawa upang protektahan po ang ating mga tubigan. So we're going to open now our floor sa ating po mga panelists and mga guests na meron po mga katanungan, mga gustong i-suggest at mga gusto pong iparating. Pero bago po lahat, ma'am, ang ganda po ng inyong sinabi yung what we can do. Napakasimple pero madami ang nakakalimot. Yung sa abide and comply with proper waste management. Napaka-importante po, ma'am, kasi reforestation sa sobrang busy ng buhay, hindi lahat kayang gawin 'yan. Pero ma'am, yung abide and comply with proper waste management, nakakalimutan po ng lahat pero kaya pong gawin natin at kung tulong-tulong po tayo gagawin, isa po itong napakalaking aksyon.
Yeah, malaking bagay na yon.
Tama po. So eto po, punta po tayo dito po muna tayo sa reaction po ni Sir Marvin Tejada. So to complement these conservation bills, the issue is the budget to finance its implementation and to be sustainable in the future. I think a good proposal is to promote local nature-based tourism to generate necessary revenue to finance further conservation activities for the long term. Tourists are attracted to nature-based touristic experience. Thus, locals will maintain the quality of these wetland environments. I came across this phrase that there is no accountability if there is no monitoring, and there is no monitoring if there is no evidence of data. So we need to increase research for conserving this wetland environments. And sabi din po ni Mr. Tejada, the Guasan Marsh is being aimed for extraction of natural gas reserve by the Philippine government. Yun po.
Yeah. So, mag-react na ako o hindi pa? Hannah?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you can react, ma'am.
Okay. I agree completely sa recommendation na i-promote natin ang nature-based tourism. Yeah, that's really good. So the community will be able to really value the ecosystem, they benefit from it, and they take care. Yeah, yeah. So and yung ina-open ngayon ng gobyerno yung extraction ng gas dun sa Ligwason Marsh. And yeah, we understand na kailangan natin yon na yung gas, we need energy. Pero siguro maybe doing that would be really very expensive. I can just imagine the what you call this, but maybe a lesser cost would be the fast tracking the renewable energy sources of that we can do really. Like for instance, marami tayong araw, many sunny days. We have windy days during typhoons and so on. Or on some parts of the Philippines, there's really lots of wind, and we have tidal energy, which is really 24 hours. Yeah. So baka ma-develop natin yung ating renewable energy for our domestic use.
Tama po, ma'am. Ma'am, kasi sa estado po ng pamumuno po ng mga nakaupo po sa ating posisyon, medyo nagdadalawang isip din po ako kung magiging responsable po ba sila at mapapangalagaan po ba nila kung sakaling i-extract nila yung resources yan po sa marsh, yan po sa may agusan. So ma'am, pareho po tayo ng
Ligwasan. Sa ligwasan.
igwasan po. Yes, ma'am. So
Sa Mindanao.
pareho po tayo ma'am ng sentimiento ma'am kasi medyo napapaisip din po ako kung baka po maging destructive po sa kapaligiran at hindi po maging maganda yung pag-handle kapag ginawa po nila yung gases extraction. So ma'am, ito po naman, punta po tayo sa comment po ni Miss Sherwood, sorry po sa last name kung mali po, Sherwood Fagmane of Fagmane. So good afternoon, Dr. Cabanban. This is Sherwood from Romblon. We met years ago through a virtual consultation. I currently led SAPAR, a community organization in Tablas Island, undertaking mangrove rehabilitation. So you mentioned about ecological mangrove restoration, which involve assessment. We face critical gaps in between in both site assessment capacity and monitoring infrastructure. We lack the equipment and methods to identify appropriate planting zone based on soil conditions, tidal patterns, and salinity levels. We also have no means to track survival rates or ecosystem recovery indicators that will confirm our intervention are ecologically sound. So, with limited local government support for coastal restoration, how can grassroots efforts like ours ensure resilience and sustainability rather than producing well-intentioned but ineffective outcomes? Are there alternatives, accessible ways for us to address these technical and monitoring gaps within our resource constraints?
Yeah. Number one, if your group, the group of Mr. Sherwin, sorry, Mr. Sherwin, yeah, if I have not, yeah. Yeah, if your group can identify the threat in your area, and if you can stop the threat, nature will recover by itself. So, but if you want to really, to actively or to fast track the rehabilitation. You can, as I said, you really lack resources. There is some, for instance, water, the soil analysis. The Department of Agriculture has a lab that they should be able to provide that. If there's a university or a college nearby, you can approach them and ask them about collaboration. So because that's the role of state universities, for instance, to be able to assist and generate knowledge for the community. If still the gap is still not filled, you're very welcome to contact us if we can maybe find a way to connect you to resources.
Ayun po, Sir, Sherwood, sana po nasagot po ni ma'am yung inyo pong katanungan. So balik lang po tayo sa pangalawa po niyang question, ma'am. So nature-based tourism was mentioned. How can resource-constrained LGUs develop nature-based tourism around wetlands without compromising ecological integrity? So what are viable low investment startup models, and what governance mechanism ensures tourism revenues actually fund wetland conservation?
Naku, maraming um, again, I am for working with existing institutions. We have the Department of Tourism, the local government units. We work with them. If there is a PENRO or ENRO or MENRO that we can work with for ecotourism, and to establish an ecotourism model to connect the ecosystem to the market. The market is obviously the tourists, right? So the tourists are approached by, or tourists approach tourism offices. So if these two agencies are connected, then we can start a small nature-based tourism in certain area. Maybe you can also focus on what is the highlight for that particular area. Maybe there is an endemic bird there. So yeah, you can say that there's an endemic bird here that's found in this particular time of the year. And now, social media is very open. You can advertise it and people will be attracted to go and visit your place. That's now to ensure that the benefits really go to the people and to the rehabilitation. That really involves good cooperation among the people living in the area and people who are really stakeholders of that area. Kailangan silang mag-usap-usap.
Salamat po ma'am sa insight niyo po ma'am. Ito pa isa lang pong candid question, medyo na-curious lang po ako ma'am kasi, alam ko po ma'am na ito po ay inyo ng lifetime work. Ma'am, pero bago po kayo nag-start dito at maging eksperto po dito ma'am, paano po kayo nagsimula na ma-involve sa wetlands? Ano po yung pinaka-origin po nito ma'am? Back in the BS, no po bang tayo bachelor's na, ito na po yung hilig po natin ma'am. Paano po tayo napatalon sa wetlands ma'am?
Ayun, napatalon ako. Yeah. So I'm a trained marine biologist, and so I worked in the academy, and then when I came back here, also I started working with conservation groups because I really would like to be, be able to apply science in management, in policies, in actions talaga. And so I was working with the different organizations here, Conservation International, Asia Development Bank, the United Nations Office for Project Services. And then there was this advertisement for Partners for Resilience. And this is actually a program that now integrates uh, integrated resource management, IRM, risk management, sorry, integrated risk management. Basically, it is in equation form, environmental management and rehabilitation, climate change adaptation, and disaster risk management. This came about because organizations realized that in Aceh, there was a tsunami, and then it wasn't just the rehabilitation of mangroves that was important, but it's also other things. So they came up with this integrated, talagang dapat integrated yung approach in ecological, environmental management and rehabilitation. Dapat talang meron yun. May climate change adaptation, meron, disaster risk management. Dapat integrated itong tatlong ito na hindi magkawatakot ng iba. So that was there was the phase 2 of that project, and then it was advertised. Nakita ko, pina-apply ako, interview ko. Kaya that was 2016, and so that's how I got into wetlands.
So
But
ma'am, almost 1 decade na po pala ma'am.
but you see, as a marine biologist, I'm aware that a lot of our problems along the coast is land-based. Yung sedimentation, dahil na watershed ay nasira, yung rivers ay nasira. So, to me, working with the rivers and lakes and watershed and mangroves, it's not foreign. So, kaya, it's just sort of a continuation of a continuum of work, ecological work.
Yes po ma'am. So ma'am, nabanggit niyo po yung pong ating water table ma'am, saka yung tubig. I remember ma'am, nung bata po ako, wala po namang nawasa, wala naman pong mga nakabote ng mga tubig. I remember ma'am na ang aming inumin ay direkta sa poso.
Mhm.
But right now ma'am, hindi mo na pwedeng inumin sa poso. So ma'am,
Oh,
sadly ma'am, kita po natin talaga na same with wetlands ma'am, tao po ang dahilan kung bakit nasisira ang ating mga resources.
oh.
Yes po Sir Ike, ano pong ating question?
Good afternoon, Doc.
Good afternoon.
Interesado akong malaman yung mga pending bills sa Congress. Sino nagtutulak? At ano ang problema? Bakit hindi gumalaw? Pangalawang question, if I may, Doc. Sa abroad kasi nagiging uso na yung NGO or non-profit. Binibili yung mga wetlands. Do you see that coming here?
No, but if there are people who are willing to do that, that's another way of conserving, protecting. But I do not know. I think the government is not keen on that path of with regards to your first question on sino tulak ng tulak ng mga bills, different people propose or submit the bills, and of course, for instance, in the last Congress, it was Senator Villar and company. Ngayon, wala na si Senator Villar, so iba na naman. Nagpapalit-palit din yung committee membership, chairmanship din sa Congress. So, kaya
For
that's
fun
one
na.
reason na pending yung mga refiling ng ano. Tapos ibang focus ngayon din ng Congress. There was the scandal. So, so anyway. So, kaya kami ay parating na so we're being alert if there is an invitation or there's a possibility, there's an opening to advocate or lobby for bills, we do that. Yeah.
Can I have a copy of those bills? Baka makatulong ako.
Okay, yeah. I will.
Kay Mark na lang.
I
Can I have a
will.
follow-up question? Mark, pwede pa?
Tingnan lang po, sir.
Ma'am, mayroon bang easement sa mga rivers? In other words, yung bago makarating sa property line, mayroon bang easement na publicly owned na hindi pwedeng galawin ng private owners?
Yes, there is by law. In urban areas, agricultural areas rather, starting there, 20 meters on each bank of the river.
Okay.
And in urban areas, it can be reduced to 3 meters on each bank of the river or tributary. Yeah. Yeah.
Susunod ba yun,
The
ma'am?
law. The law is actually not really specific for easements, ganon. It's actually under the Clean Water Act. Having those easements is argued to be one way to clean the water, which is true. But it's really important for many other reasons, like reflooding of the floodplain for renewal for nutrient replenishment, for sediment replenishment, for reducing the velocity of flood waters coming downstream. It should go into the floodplain. The floodplain, 20 meters on each side. That's natural. Flooding is natural. Should be allowed.
Another follow-up, ma'am. Yung bang mga abandoned or vacant fish ponds na formerly swampland or mangrove areas, automatic ba yung bumabalik sa public domain or may priority yung commercial buyers na naman?
No. The law requires that if the fish pond is not productive for 5 years, it should be reverted back to DNR. DNR is actually the owner, if you may, of mangroves. And
Nasusunod ba? Nasusunod?
it's not happening for various reasons. Yeah. And but there is now a move by both BFAR and DNR to assess the status of these abandoned, underdeveloped, and underproductive fish ponds. And we hope that in 2 years there will be an agreed process, assessment and process how to assess and then make this reversion back to mangroves.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat po, Sir Ike. Basahin ko lang po itong comment po ni Mr. Tejada and then after po we will go to Sir Cesar. So, regarding po dun sa ating comment ma'am kanina sa renewable energy, so sabi po ni Mr. Tejada, the question is how can we develop these renewable energy technologies if our government is not focused on supporting research and development by our researchers and scientists of the country? Tama po. And then comment po niya, it seems our government has transferred its responsibility to develop our sectoral initiatives to private sectors, grassroots, etc. So whose stewardship is this if community lacks the resources to do so? Eh ma'am, sabi po ni Mr. Sherwood, thank you so much for the insight. We will be sure to collaborate with you and Wetlands International. And then sabi
Okay.
po ni Mr. Tejada, yes po by law, this is in regards with the easement. So there is easement requirement buffer for industrial forest land to distance to water bodies. So it is a 3, 10, 30 meters formula for residential, industrial, and forest land. So the question is, the rampant disguise flood control project fronting as gray infrastructure, this is accepted, but we need to hybridize and introduce nature-based solution too. Actually, Mr. Tejada, ang problema dito, etong mga ganitong question is natatabunan to ng ng mga ibang issue kasi as of now if you will see busy-busy ang mga tao, busy-busy ang mga Pilipino na mag-away sa social media between this camp and this camp. To the point na lahat ng ito, masyado tayong galit, masyado tayong nag-uumapaw ng emosyon sa dapat i-impeach, dapat hindi, ito masama, ito mabuti. Ito mga question na to, ginagamit to ng ating mga nakaupo. Itong mga katiwalaan nito ginagamit nila habang tayo ay bulag na nag-aaway. Alam po natin yan lahat. So, Sir Cesar, ano pong question po natin? Yep.
Yep. Dr. Annabelle, thank you very much for an interesting and challenging presentation. I have 3 to 4 related items. Ililista ko muna, then you can respond. Kamusta ang kalagayan ng mga pamilya, I think the families along the wetlands or mangroves and all that? Now, related to this, yung mga pamilya and others, do you have a National Assembly of Wetlands Communities or People? Para sa ganun, there can be a cross-sharing of ideas. Which leads me to the third, Ligwasan Marsh as an example, because I think that's already a documented, natural gas the deposit there. I think the idea, one suggestion I can think of is for Wetlands International to approach the nearest SUC or college to talk to the people pursuing the natural gas and see as to the economic viability. Now, which leads me linking up with state SUCs and colleges, hindi lamang sa Ligwasan, but in all your other areas, I think will help spread the news about what you're doing. And not just that, mobilize the citizenry to support wetlands. And lastly, number 4, is there a conflict between conservation and economic development? Or do they go hand in hand? Because if they go hand in hand, automatic yan, magtutulungan. If there's a conflict, I think those who are hand and mouth from the wetlands will prioritize their livelihood. So those are 4 areas. The families, an National Assembly of Wetlands Communities, linking up with SUCs and colleges, and fourth is a bit conceptual. Is there a conflict between conservation and economics? Salamat.
Thank you. Yeah. So, as to the status of families, wala kaming really studies na conduct the status of families along wetlands. What we can tell, you could see that, some in the communities we have worked with, they're, poor. So, kakaawa. Anyway,
Because I think with families or communities, you can develop cheering squads.
okay.
Like, no. Pag alam nila
Oh,
na they will
yeah.
benefit,
Mm,
and then you group them together nationwide, then there can be a
yeah.
powerful voice. Okay.
Right. So you were asking whether there's an assembly. We don't, but that's a very good idea that we can mobilize, or we can gather, inspire, and mobilize people. With Ligwas on Mars, we can work with the SUC there for the
Yes.
economic viability, economic feasibility, and other things. In fact, BARM, Ministry of Environment, has approached us actually some time ago too and worked with us. So at least they're interested in the conservation of.
Because I think the
But
SUC and college tie-ups can be nationwide also.
that's right. Yeah. Uh, uh, yeah,
The
and if we work with the
Senate
SUCs, then yes, we can do some studies that are relevant studies. And the fourth one is there a conflict between economic development and conservation? Under the convention, there shouldn't be a conflict. The Convention for the Conservation of Wetlands actually is for biodiversity conservation and wise use. Wise use can be economic activities. So the economic activities can happen, but it has to be at a scale that is not going to destroy the integrity of the wetland. Because a wetland can be able to adjust or to accommodate some changes in the system, for instance. Another way is if you another approach that is used is offsetting. If economic development really needs to happen, and it cannot, the planning involves, should involve avoiding as much as possible critical wetlands or critical habitats. If they cannot avoid, it should mitigate. If they cannot mitigate, offset the damage to the ecosystem. So this is the hierarchy that has to be followed. But you see, in our environmental impact assessment system, this is not happening. It's not, our system is outdated, has to be revised. This has to be put in place to ensure that economic development still progresses without sacrificing the integrity, the status of ecosystems for our generation and future generation.
Thank you. Isang pahabol, if I'm not. Are wetlands affected by the lifting of the 15-kilometer commercial ban, or malayo na?
Yes, because you see, lifting of the, dapat 15 kilometers do yung, because if the commercial fishers can, work within. You see, wetland is up to 6 meters at shallow shut at low tide. So that will affect the reef flats or seagrasses or bays that are within that depth, within that depth.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Maraming salamat po, Sir Cesar. So, ito na lang po, huling pahabol po galing po kay Mr. Tejada. So regarding wetlands, were this part of protected areas that are governed with protection agreements, add protocols such IUCN, Ramsar that limits encroachment from built-up developments. What then can we say if localities build such structures?
Yeah, that's really in the domain of local governments. Then if there are infringements of the laws, that's in the domain of the local government and the judiciary. So
Yes,
dapat merong accountability yung hindi sumunod ng
Yes po, ma'am. So kailangan po talaga, ma'am, meron pong ngipin ang ating batas. Hindi lang po dapat siya naisulat, na ipasa sa Kongreso at napirmahan ng Presidente. Dapat ito po ay gumagalaw at napapanagot ang mga taong dapat managot. So ma'am, ano lang po, invite po natin yung mga viewers po natin, mga estudyante po nakikinig. Invite po natin sila na if ever possible, ma'am, mag-aral po tungkol po sa wetlands para meron po magpatuloy na inyong gawain.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. Mga marurunong ng mga estudyante, mga responsable mga estudyante na nakikinig ngayon. Kayo ay inimbita kung makinig at mag-aral ng mabuti, mag-aral ng ekolohiya, mag-aral ng ecology of wetlands, ecology of rivers, limnology. Limnology is the study of lakes and rivers. Maraming mapag-aralan, maraming topics na pwedeng mag-create ng curiosity, yung biodiversity, bakit pumupunta doon yung mga ibon? Bakit sila nandun pag ganitong taon, ganitong buwan ng taon? It's so many things. So I hope that you study wetlands, both natural and man-made, and how they can really support our society, for our resilience and the sustainability of our society.
Tama po yan, ma'am. So ang mga kabataan po nakikinig ngayon at sa mga kabataan pong muling makikinig po ng aming programa sa YouTube, tingin po natin ang panawagan po ni Dr. Ana del Cabanban. Tayo po ay mag-aral ng siyensya, ecology. Huwag po nating hayaang mamatay ang siyensya ng pag-aaral po ng wetlands. Dahil po sa pamamagitan po ng pangangalaga sa ating mga basang lupa o wetlands, pinapatibay natin ang likas na kalasag ng ating komunidad laban sa sakuna at tinitiyak ang masagana at masusuportahan ang kinabukasan para sa lahat. So with those words, maraming salamat po sa pagsama po sa amin ngayong hapon. Muli po tayong magkita next week sa isa na naman po napakagandang episode ng The Filipino SDG Action Hour, and we enjoy the rest of the weekend. Bye for now.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Del, maraming salamat at nagpa-unlock ka dito. Maganda, kailangan talaga, hindi natin, ibig sabihin kasi yung parang sa division ng pag-aaral, di ba? Parang either terrestrial o yung marine, parang yung tong wetlands, parang ano well, tulad ko, hindi ko masyadong alam yung wetlands. Although, siguro itong mga kabataan, dapat na nilang pagtutukan ito.
Tama po, ma'am. Sila na po ngayon ang dapat pong kumbaga tumingin dito sa anggulo ng pangangalaga po ng ating kalikasan. Madami po sa atin, ma'am, ngayon ang hindi naman sa pag-ano, ma'am, ang nabubulag sa mga maling kurso. Hindi naman po mali. Tama po naman, pero ma'am, kumbaga pero po pang iba pang option maliban po sa mga kurso o degree sa kolehiyo na makikita po natin is maganda po ang future natin kung tayo po ay tutungo sa landasin po ng agham at siyensya.
I'm happy also to share na there's a lot of interest to intern with us, Wetlands International. Yung mga pero ito yung mga communications development, co-development fortunately they are interested. Yeah. So yun lang, hindi kami maka-accommodate ng marami so every year, pero we're now making sure na meron kaming regular na internship. So we hope that this will become a pool. Kahit na maliit na pool of individuals.
Sa ating po mga audience po na nasa sa room, sinend ko po yung link po ulit for the evaluation and attendance. Sige po. Meron pa po bang question bago ko po i-close ang room? Ayan po. So kay Rudeline Lacorte, ito po yung link.
Ayan.
Ayan po.
Bakit, Mark, pwede pa ba magpahabol?
Sige po. Kung ano po, meron din po na mga nagtatanong pa po ng i-link ng ng ating pong evaluation.
Yeah, I'm curious to know from Doc. Ano ang coordination ng government agencies? Halimbawa, DOE at saka DNR, and then national agencies at LGU. Nag-uusap ba? And then follow up to that, di ba pag mayroong ancestral domain, mayroon muna silang consent kung may gagawin dun sa area nila. Halimbawa, sa Agusan Mars,
Yeah.
teritoryo ng Manobo yun eh.
Yeah. Yeah. Required yun that if especially merong indigenous people, required yung free and prior
Informed
informed consent. Hindi meron ako isang project sa Cagayan de Oro. Ginawa yung merong stakeholder consultation. Pero nagreklamo yung council, sabi hindi daw gano'n, hindi daw yung free and prior consent. Na-stop yung project, na-delay, inulit yung Kaya, importante yun, hindi nasusunod yun. Yung requirement.
Nasusunod o hindi nasusunod?
Nasusunod. Sinusunod namin. For instance, kahit na stakeholder consultation lang, dun sa Agusan Marsh, ni-require kami, pero nung ni-explain namin na eto, ganito, ang ginagawa namin ay hindi naman talagang project stakeholder consultation lang ng malaman yung feedback. They sort of waive the requirement. Pero kung meron ng project na kunwari permaculture, ganon, kailangan namin ng free and prior concern.
Just an observation, Doctor. I want to share with you. I think sa laki ng scope ng DNR, masyado na silang maraming napapabayaan.
Oo.
Yeah, they also are overwhelmed. Yeah. Tapos, yeah, that's one. And then the government also, for instance, nakikita ko sa mga laws, just one law at a bill, they have this bill, and then it says that the funding of this bill, implementation of this act will be from the usual General Appropriations Act of the government, or the DNR, for instance. So, dagdag trabaho yun, dagdag pero ang budget ay ganun pa rin. So, it's just not logical. The other thing is that, dinownload yung mga responsibilidad din sa mga LGUs. Pero
Yes.
walang downloading din ng ng
Yes.
funds. How can you expect the LGUs to Anyway. So, yun yung fiscal, kaya yung mention ko yung fiscal management, kasi yung mag-sign, for instance, nag-sign ng Ramsar Convention, dapat pag nag-sign ka ng ng treaty or law, lalo na international, the government should automatically appropriate for the implementation of the actions needed for
Yeah.
the convention to be implemented properly.
Ayan po.
Yan.
Yes
So,
po, eksakto alas 5 na po. Meron pa po bang mga habol na question? Ma'am, maraming salamat po, ma'am, sa pagpapaunlak po sa amin ngayong Biyernes. Pasensya na po, ma'am, sa paghingi po ng inyong oras sa hapon na ito.
no, it's okay.
Ma'am, again po.
So, we will focus on the other one, yung sabi mo,
Yes po, ma'am.
another time.
Po yun, madami po akong narinig at nag-clamor po nung aming usapan last time na maganda pong i-present yung inyong ipininesend sa Pampanga. Sige po, ma'am, iset po natin yan, ma'am. So, i-ano po natin, ma'am, pwede po kayo, ma'am, this May din po, ma'am, either 22 or 29, o pwede po, ma'am, June na po. Kung ano
June
pong-
na. Sige.
Sige po, ma'am. Sige po, have a
Thank
great day
you.
po. Bye
Yeah.
po.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Mark, pala, pwede tayo, pag-schedule lang ng future SDG Action Hour. Pag-usapan natin
Sige po.
maya. Tatawag ako sa'yo. Oo. Sige, thank you. Ay, ito, tayo na lang palang dalawa. Ay, yung
Opo, ma'am.
palang sa hindi ko naasikaso yung sinasuggest ni Benny. Si,
Opo. Yung pong balikan ko po, ma'am.
Oo, yung sa teka, kay Benny. Ito, nagbigay siya uli ng contact. Ito yung si Paul Dumlao, Mayor Paul Dumlao ng Surigao City.
Opo.
So, meron siyang binigay na CMO at Surigao City. Papadala ko sa iyo to.
Sige po,
At
ma'am.
saka itong isa, pogipubs at
Opo, sige po,
yahoo.com.
ma'am.
Pero if you can suggest 2 dates ang pwede, sinasabi mo na pwedeng magsalita.
Opo,
This
ma'am.
May?
Ma'am, this May po, ma'am, pwede po ng 20, wala pa po tayo, ma'am, ng 22 and 29. Ma'am, by the way po, ma'am, yung pong 15, that will be next week. Ang problema po, ma'am, tayo po ay nasa Pampanga, ma'am. Paano po tayo kayo mag-SDG o cancel po muna?
Sino ba yung dapat?
Ma'am, actually, wala pa po tayo for 15. At the same time po, ma'am, nasa Pampanga po tayo.
Nahirap nga, ano?
Opo,
Nasa
ma'am.
Pampanga tayo.
Alauna
Meg.
po, ma'am, ang ating, ang ating call time po kay Governor.
Hindi tayo aabot, ano?
Opo,
Sige,
ma'am.
wag na muna.
Opo, ma'am. So, ma'am, meron po
Sabihin mo
tayo.
na lang pag nag-send ka ng announcement canceled kasi we have an important, ganon, yung sabihin mo na rason, hindi yung
Ma'am.
we
And then,
will be
ma'am,
in Pampanga for the flooding project, ganon.
ma'am, meron po tayong po dito sa 22 and 29. Ma'am, dito po is pwede pa po naman po si Ma'am G sa plastic pollution po, yung dapat po niyan title nung time na yon. Ma'am, pero kung magre-reply po si Mayor Dumlao, pwede po nating i-offer yung either 22 or
22
29.
or 29, oo.
Po, ma'am.
Sige, baka I write to him na Mayor Pablo Dumlao.
Yes po, ma'am. So, iaano ko po dito, ma'am, as early as today. Iano ko na po siya para maghintay po ako ng reply by next week para meron po tayong open na 2 weeks para po sa reply po niya.
Okay.
Opo,
Sige.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, meron pa po tayong gusto. Ma'am, baka po pwedeng kayo po ang medyo sumundot kay, kay Dairit. Kasi ayun po yung ni-refer po sa akin ni Ma'am G. Saka po yung isa po, Rola.
Bakit? Ano yun?
Ma'am, sila po yung
Ano?
mga, ma'am, teka lang po ha. Meron po mga sinuggest po kasing speaker, yung pong si Dr. Dairit po, hindi po nagre-reply po sa akin. Baka pwede po kayo po yung, ma'am, baka pag kayo po ang nag-email, baka po mag-reply.
Padala mo sa akin ang email mo sa kanila kay Toby.
Opo. Saka po yung may sinabi po si ma'am eh. Sige po ma'am, iano ko po isasad ko po sa inyo. Meron po mga sinuggest po si Ma'am G na nag-email na po ako pero wala pa po silang mga reply. Baka po pag kayo po ang nag-email, baka po mag-reply sa inyo.
Sige.
Sige po ma'am.
Thank you.
Sige po ma'am. Bye.
So, sa 11, hindi ka sasama.
Ma'am, hindi po kasi ako po ay meron na po ako naka-schedule ng Sunday, Sabado hanggang Linggo, Lunes po. Opo, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, pero definitely po on the 13th, kasama ko po si Ma'am G, diyan po sa Ateneo hanggang sa Pampanga po.
Okay.
Opo, ma'am.
Sige. Thank you.
Sige po, ma'am. Bye.
Bye-bye. Live.